So it's interesting that with the Millennium Dome under our belt, we were starting to look at big enclosures, starting to look at sport as a growing interest of ours as well. The kind of projects that really need big thinking and really benefit from an integrated approach. Certainly stadia do an awful lot more than just keep a bit of rain off crowds of people. We felt this was good territory for us, so we moved quite consciously to try to be part of that growing interest across the world in sports venues and general exhibition venues and other places of big crowds of people. And that's taken us a long way in what we've developed as engineers. It's taken us into a really deep understanding of people flow and an understanding of how these venues, how people react with these venues, what the emotional impact that it can have on people, the acoustics, the growing of grass, the lighting, the sun, all sorts of complexities around these sorts of buildings started to really fascinate us. And you could trace that back to projects like the Millennium Dome that whetted our appetite for this. And so as time went on, we were doing more stadia. So the Emirates Stadia for Arsenal, the Aviva in Dublin, and many more now. And that gave us something else to take overseas as well. So we were starting to have similar conversations in the US, and that helped us develop our presence there, helped us grow across onto the West Coast, into LA first, and now into San Francisco as well. And it started to make us see that really what we were cut out for were projects where the performance, the high-level performance of buildings was very important. The impact that our buildings would have on people and understanding that was very important. And that has become really a crucial part of what BuroHappold is about. Understanding the role of the engineer in the way that it influences people, affects people, and ultimately affects businesses, of course, of our clients and the success of those, and the success of the cities that we're looking at and that we're operating in. So it was really we're starting to really understand our future that way. And meanwhile, around more up to date now, in India, we could see opportunities there. More burgeoning economy in India, people were looking for a better quality of building, better quality environment for the new middle classes and for the wealthy running the country, needing the sort of engineering we could bring. So we went about setting an office up in Mumbai, which has become a really strong part of BuroHappold, and it's delivering some excellent, highly sustainable, self-contained developments out there. And this has become the theme, really, of where we are, where we have grown. It's always where we see a new market, opportunities where people want integrated, high quality, high performance spaces, complex interrelationships with people, environment, transport, acoustics. This interplay of different complex effects that happen in the built environment was a happy hunting ground for us. And that complexity perhaps explains some of the work that we've been doing recently in the city space and in changing environment on a bigger scale. So in Riyadh, the WADI HANIFAH project, it's not a building. It's something perhaps a lot more important than a building. It's a public space. It's creating a new place for people living in Riyadh, especially the younger generations living in Riyadh, a place for them to go and enjoy a bit of nature in what is otherwise quite a relentlessly urban place. And what we've done is just rediscover the old Wadi, the old river valley of the city, transform it from being pretty much a neglected rubbish dump into a great place for the city to enjoy. Whenever I get a chance, I visit it, and I feel really moved when I see the power of what we, and of course our collaborators, have been able to do for the people there. And when I see the youngsters playing in the water and so on, I can get quite emotional. But lovely example of the power of really good, thoughtful, integrated engineering. And now we're taking that further and further. That has inspired other cities in Saudi Arabia to want something similar, great opportunities there. And I think that's been a wonderful place for the BuroHappold mind to move itself, so that as well as thinking about high-performance buildings, we're thinking about high-performance urban environments. And another great example of that is in New York, something that we're all very proud of. The work on the High Line is outstanding. The impact that has had on the people of New York and the visitors to New York is much more powerful than I think we could ever have imagined. Of course, it's quadrupled in its scale since its opening because it's been so successful. And you talk to any visitor who's come back from New York, they don't talk about the Empire State Building or any of the obvious icons. They talk about their experience when they were on the High Line. And it is a magic to be hovering above the city in this beautiful park, linear park, walking in a strange route that doesn't quite tie in with the square urban grid. It sort of undulates across it. It's an amazing feeling. And you do have to go and see these things to really understand the power that the engineering can have to unlock different experiences for people, to inspire them in their built environment, and to make their lives that little bit better. I always feel that was exactly where Ted wanted to take us. That was exactly the destination that he was moving to. When you think back, we were small at the beginning. We were doing slightly crazy little things like Pink Floyd umbrellas and so on. But it wasn't long before we were doing research into giant umbrella buildings, big encasing bits of Canada to keep the weather off, that then stepped us forward into this bigger scale world. So that now I'm absolutely sure that if Ted were kind of looking in and wondering what now we've done 20 years on, now that we celebrate our 40th birthday, I often think, what would he say? But I'm absolutely confident he'd chuckle. He definitely would chuckle, and he'd say something like, "Fantastic, that's just what I wanted to see." And he'd probably go off whistling down the corridor. We may never see him, but for that moment, I would relish that moment.